another one dead, another one dead. But then when it is convenient, it goes flawlessly. And by the way, when it's convenient in Let There Be Carnage, when Venom has gone off on his own and he's like bonding to different hosts, then all of a sudden they're dying. Remember? He goes through a bunch of different people until he gets to Mrs. Chen and then back to Anne and then back to Eddie. But the problem with that is they only do it when the plot needs Venom to need Eddie. Well, these hosts aren't working. Now the plot needs Venom
literally
to just do whatever he wants.
Like, this guy cannot hold the
exactly.
Venom symbiote.
So that's my problem, is like they establish these rules, and then in that scene that you were talking about, which was very cool, with all the different symbiotes start bonding to different people, and then they all just start fighting like we have zero problem.
I got the counter bait for that.
I got a counter one, but I'll let you, Kyle.
No, you're the guest. Go first.
So no, you are making valid points. We are seeing that in the first movie that a host and a symbiote, if they're good, that creates what we know as Venom, right? That's the assumption. And the second one, we kind of see that with Carnage as well. But then the third one, we do see all these Power Ranger symbiotes. My thinking with that is just like how everyone in this room is different. We all have different metabolisms. We all have different strengths. Everyone can hold it a little bit better. If we all eat a cheeseburger, some of us are going to burn it off faster than everyone else. That's how I see these symbiotes, because we see, like you said in the first one, people are dying left and right with the symbiotes. We literally saw this a few scenes ago with in Let There Be Carnage. Venom leapt out of Eddie onto someone on the street. Within that same minute, the guy drops to the ground and he has to jump onto a biker, and they last significantly longer.
Yeah.
I think it has to do a little bit with, like, obviously plot. The hard and fast rule is he can be with Eddie unlimited, but everyone else has an X amount of time. We just don't know what that X amount of time is.
But with those other symbiotes in The Last Dance, there didn't seem to be an X amount of time.
Well, with Anne, she was able to be She-Venom for a little bit.
Yeah.
Same thing with The Last Dance is we don't know how long those guys had.
Sure, yes. Yeah, I guess some people, it seemed, this was my problem with it, was the first time we were introduced to the rules where they were like, hey everyone, here are the rules of this world. Mm-hmm. It was a pretty immediate thing, whether it was working or not.
Yeah.
And it was just funny. Every time a new symbiote went to the next person, I was like, oh, it worked flawlessly again. That worked flawlessly again. I didn't mind it because it was a really cool action scene. But I also was like, isn't the whole thing that makes Eddie and Venom special is that they're able to do that flawlessly? That to me, that was like the whole thing that makes their relationship, not flawlessly, but that they had that kind of immediate integration, in the first movie.
For all we know, those symbiotes did have a perfect match, but we didn't have enough time with them to establish that.
So then what are the odds of every one of those being a perfect match to the person who happened to be next to them in the room?
I mean, they also all kind of got killed off almost immediately too, so we don't get to see them.
Well, all those scientists had bonds with the symbiotes because they've been spending time researching them.
But is that what determines
I don't think that's...
No, I'm just saying that, well, I would argue that it, like in any relationship, it's the motivations of the two parties involved. Like in the examples of the unhoused folks, not that I care what, in Venom 1, they're unwilling participants being grafted onto a relationship. So that's why it doesn't work. In the Last Dance, these are people who, the scientists, as they point out, are trying to understand them. So usually in a relationship, trying to build a basis of understanding could lead to better bonding. As far as jumping in and out of people, I like your cheeseburger example, so I'm just going to use that.
I actually really like what you're saying there.
I liked that.
The homeless people,
You're supposed to debate me.
They're not accepting the symbiotes, whereas Anne, in the very first movie, she's able to jump around, she's able to venomize, and it's going just fine. But she probably cannot hold it as much as Eddie could, obviously. And that's probably the same thing with Riot. In the first movie, he's able to hold on to the host. We don't know for how long, though. And that's also the supreme symbiote from their group, which they established in the first movie.
I took that one was like because he was like kind of that higher status. Maybe that was some part of that explanation. I like the willingness side of it.
I think it's willingness and biology.
That's what
because Eddie didn't accept him.
That's what it almost seemed like. The way I took it, that it was supposed to be, was more like just some organic thing, less about the intent behind it. Right? I like that, the idea of it being willing or not. That makes sense, but They just did such a specific job of showing Eddie having to fumble his way through discovering how to even fight as
But
Venom.
everyone else is just
and everyone else
clobbering
goes
time.
like this, swing, sword, like I know how to do all of these things immediately, which again makes for a kick-ass action scene, which I loved. But I just, like, you can do more than that. That's, to me, is like there's an opportunity to do more to help us understand what the rules of these things are.
Okay, I got a counterpoint for you. In the very first movie, Venom does establish to Eddie that Venom himself is a loser compared to the other symbiotes. So there's that. Eddie is also not aware that he has a symbiote in him, so he's not aware of its capabilities. Whereas in The Last Dance, all these scientists, they're aware of what a symbiote should do. They're also, as far as we know, not the losers of the group.
Wait. What do you mean they're aware of what a symbiote should do?
They've been studying them
They've been
in
studying
Area
it for a while.
55
They've
for a
been
long
looking at them. What do you mean
But they
they've
know
been
what-
studying
but they know
them?
what Venom is.
Wait, you got to explain to me, what do you mean by studying?
They've been, like, poking
looking
them
at
and
jars. They've
Yeah.
been looking at beakers.
Well-
Kyle, they've been bringing them up and down. That's
Juno
what they've been
Temple
fucking
and
doing.
Christmas had been talking to not Toxin, but Green Mermaid symbiote. I like that you called it
And guess
that.
what? If they had showed that Keeley from Ted Lasso and the Christmas Lady, if they had showed that one of them had like a just higher natural level of compatibility, I would have appreciated that. But it wasn't that. It was they all were equally flawlessly integrated with their symbiote.
But they're also all highly motivated against this thing that is attacking
fight
them.
or flight.
So,
They-
yeah,
they-
it's-
they
Wait,
know-
no, but Eddie was fight or flight in that first
But he
escape.
doesn't know that he has a symbiote with abilities, whereas all these scientists are aware. They know Venom. They know.
Okay,
this other-
but can any of the three of you show me in the movies at what point the filmmakers, not you doing assumptions on their behalf,
Go ahead.
where the filmmakers indicate to us that the intent is the thing that dictates the symbiosis? At what point? In the one,
when
2, or 3?
Keely breaks the thing in her hand, she knows she's gonna use the symbiote.
Because she just saw 20 other people
Yeah,
do it
but
before
that is
her.
an
That's why
instance.
she
That's
knows.
an
Well, yeah,
Because she
that's-
just
she
saw it.
knows,
Just
yeah.
worked for all of them.
The first
But
person
that
that-
is an instance of her. I'm gonna let this thing control me, and I'm gonna save my friend. I'm gonna break this, and I'm gonna do it. She lets it happen.
it's like running the 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
Once you see someone do it, a bunch of people can do it. And that's what happened when different,
Wait, no, that only applies to that moment.
I,
though.
but I
It
also
doesn't
Sure.
apply
like
to
in
the
this
whole.
part where the like Carnage Venom internet thing never comes back either. Where Carnage accesses the internet and
Oh, yeah.
that
never comes
that
back
was
ever again.
hilarious. What was that? He literally was like, "Sweet." I literally was watching. I was like, "Wait, did I like thought I was like eating? I think at the same time I was like, did I miss something?"
These
he was just on the
symbiotes
internet.
just do
Whatever you want
whatever
them to
the
do.
plot writers need. And I'll bring this up because it actually has to do with action. So in the third movie, they established that Venom cannot be fully Venom because they have a codex and someone's tracking them.
Yeah.
Right? So I was actually looking forward to seeing what kind of action that means. That means Eddie can only have like a Venom fist or a Venom
Right.
foot every once in a
Yeah,
while.
yeah.
Which we even see in the first scene of the third movie. But then that's just not the case. We just don't see Venom for most of the movie until towards the end, which
Until
is
he
crazy.
decides to dance with Mrs. Chen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
for
doesn't
that
make sense.
reason.
The
I love
fuck
that
was
scene.
that?
But then in the first movie,
That's
Venom,
what I'm saying.
yeah.
That's the same thing as the second one with the
Whoa.
mic drop. It's not that it's a bad scene if you just looked at that scene. It's more like I see a writer being like, "Wouldn't this be hilarious?"
But it makes sense in the context of the film, whereas the Mrs. Chen thing dancing doesn't. Like Venom literally won't come out.
I still disagree about it making sense in the context of the scene because I don't see like not
Okay.
that no that's not quite
Are you
it.
talking about Let There Be Carnage or Last
Yes.
Dance?
Not
Okay.
that it doesn't make sense because you know what? I'm almost realizing as we're talking about it, I just wanted Let There Be Carnage to be better. So maybe expectations is a big part of this. I think I expected it to be stronger overall, and I expected things like we do get this idea from Venom. Some of his other motivations are like
I love these tendrils for Carnage. It's just so gooey.
Yeah, it was cool.
He feels like a separate symbiote than everyone else.
It does feel
Everyone
like
else
its own
feels
thing.
like
Yeah.
a Venom.
Isn't he a different symbiote because he combined with some of Venom's symbiote and Cletus Cathio's blood?
How they determine what becomes a fully symbiote and what doesn't blows my mind. Yes, you are correct. In this movie continuity, the Venom symbiote droplet goes into Cletus Cassidy's bloodstream, and that's how we get Carnage. And then in the third movie, a woman that got struck by lightning like 10 years ago broke open a vial that had Venom in it, got a completely separate symbiote.
Purple one, yeah.
which is also.
I gotta ask about one
Please
scene.
go.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's also.
I know. I'm trying not to like compare the movie to comics, but it's weird that there's like an electric Venom 3: The Last Dance is Gremlins 2: The New Batch, where they just like, you know what? This might be the last one. Everyone gets a different type of symbiote. Also, let's do an electric one, even though it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, with hair, by the way, with flowing hair.
There's also a fire symbiote in the final fight that dies first.
Yeah, there kind of is, right?
What do we know about symbiotes? That they need fire or sound to be defeated.
To jack them up, yeah.
So if they explained why there was a fire symbiote, cool.
Well,
but the fact that he was
already through the whole 3 movies, the whole sound thing continues to like be used only when the plot needs it to. And then, like I said, watch that scene with the dance. Just watch it again. There's 2 moments where the mic gives that high frequency feedback.
I completely believe it.
Nothing happens. I swear. I'm not going to say any more about Let There Be Carnage.
As it's kicking ass right now. Oh, sound thing. So Scream is doing her sound screech, and that's impacting Carnage. So we know that's going to be something that impacts him later.
My argument is just that because
and fire.
Eddie and Venom have such a solid relationship, they're able to overcome the sound barrier. Like when I first started riding my one wheel, I wasn't very good, but later on, I was able to like go over bumps, walk a dog.
Yeah, but that's like you're saying Superman, if he hangs around kryptonite long enough, he could get used to it. Like,
yeah, I mean, actually, I think there are
analogy.
There are arcs where that happens.
It's like iocane powder. He's like,
yeah, I think he slowly gets like
around green kryptonite.
Well, no, he brings on larger and larger. I think that's an arc. I'm not sure.
So what you're saying does make sense, but in the terms of this 2-hour movie, we're not getting that kind of explanation.
Which 2-hour movie? Because none of them are 2 hours, and one of them's an hour and a half.
Okay, in each movie, we're not seeing like that kind of logic applied, where it's like, okay, I'm getting used to sound. Nope, it's just sound hurts symbiotes. That is it.
See, so in this instance, you're like, no, the filmmakers didn't establish it. But there have been some other instances where you're like, well, maybe the filmmakers meant this. No. They didn't tell us that. They didn't show us that. If they didn't show us that, I don't buy it. Or it just makes me frustrated with like lazy filmmaking. If you don't do the work, I shouldn't be sitting here thinking to myself, well, maybe it's because of this or maybe it's because of that. No, you have the opportunity to like create this world for us and show us all the rules and then actually follow those rules consistently.
Part of why we're arguing this is because it looks cool when he's Venom, and it's undeniably cool.
Yeah. That's
so
like the main appeal.
You care about like, why can't it make sense? But at the same time,
yeah.
I go back to one of the 3 people watching the movie is that normie who doesn't think that deeply. Like most people don't sit around and talk about a movie for an hour, much less at all. In that nerds. We're solidly in the spoiler section.
Yeah.
In Last Dance, when Christmas walks out of the room after finding out about the darkness or whatever is coming, and just asks random other scientists, "Have you talked to your family lately?" I thought that was one of the best scenes in the movie.
Best in what way? Like just, hilarious?
Because it made me care. Like, I was thinking about the Zack Snyder movies in reference to the Venom movies. I actually care about, like, that you noticed that, oh man, that person might die because they have a Venom in them. Shows that you care about individual people, whereas when Superman knocks down a building in Man of Steel, you don't give a shit.
Yeah. For sure.
I think... It's funny you say that, because I think Venom the Last Dance throws in so many people and then tries to give you at least a single scene. Okay, so Christmas.
It's like a single... Yeah, it's the right way to say it. I think Keely from Ted Lasso, I forget the character's name.
She's a scientist in the movie, yes.
And Christmas, they like should have been one character.
We also should have gotten a flashback
one of them
scene.
liked Christmas, and one of them wore their brother's shirt.
Bro, it's like they took one character and like they should have combined it, and then it would have been one, like they could have done one fully fleshed out character instead of 2 that's like, we're calling Christmas and Keely from Ted Lasso. That's what happened with those characters.
This isn't a conversation. This is me just saying it because there's going to be I hope there's one person that's listening to this podcast that like understands what I'm about to say. So Kaylee from Ted Lasso, right? We get her backstory randomly where her and her brother got struck by lightning and the brother dies and she
Actually, she got struck by lightning. grounding, but he
Yeah.
actually died
yeah.
through
That-
her.
yes.
He was
Sorry.
the grounding.
Yeah.
And then throughout the movie, we see she can't use her left arm.
I didn't notice that till the second time I watched it. That's how good of a performance
I
that was.
just watched it. What do you mean you didn't notice it? They did a close up
Yeah.
before going.
Yeah, I thought you just had a sore arm still.
Sorry, I'm going to keep
Sorry,
sorry, keep going.
Because
Yeah.
it won't be a debate conversation. It's just me getting this comic fact
yeah,
out
please,
there.
yeah.
So she doesn't have use of her arm. And throughout the movie, we see her with a vial of Venom symbiote that she, at the very end, crushes and turns into a purple symbiote that, for some reason, has electric powers.
Yeah.
The thing
And
that,
sweet hair.
Yes, and sweet hair. The thing that bothers me is in the comics, I just need to say this for the one person that's listening. In the comics, there is, I believe they're either a military person or a scientist who loses their arm, and later they get a symbiote who is purple, but they don't get electric powers. They get mechanical powers because it's a bio-organic symbiote, and they become the symbiote named Scorn. So they're a purple symbiote, and they get a metal arm that can just shapeshift into other weapons, like like just mechanical weapons.
So they get a T2 on their T1000.
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah.
So I was waiting for that to happen here, but I don't think the filmmakers were aware of like that character. It just
That's so interesting. No.
So I just got pissed at like,
No,
okay,
they were
I
like-
guess we can just throw electric on. And they don't really do it in the movies, but also in like any other continuity, electric also hurts symbiotes a little bit because it's kind of close enough to fire. Where it's like, okay.
That's interesting.
That brings it to what? So
I want to make just one
please
one
get
last
in
comment.
here, David.
One last comment about what you were saying about this is something that I feel very strongly about the normie person, okay? And you're like, they're not going to be thinking about this or that, except that they might be without knowing it. And this is a thing that frustrates me in movies is like, some of these things just happen unconsciously. All these different things that like just take you a little bit out of it. And it could be anything. It could be the fact that they cast a bunch of British actors who are all great British actors and their accents slip every now and then. There was one moment that I literally like, I just saw this in theaters today. There was a moment, I gotta remember the line that Keeley said. Oh wait, no, I remember it. Juno Temple, that's the actress's name. She was great in this movie, by the way. Again, just kind of underdeveloped. And I love her in Ted Lasso.
You should watch Fargo season 5. Sorry, keep going.
Fargo?
Fargo season 5.
Oh, okay, we'll check it out.
Oh yeah.
She said, did our new friend give him any trouble? That was the line. And the word our, that's a tough one for people who are like British to try to get an American. And I literally, it's like I could hear her. This is also me being an actor, but still, I could hear her putting so much effort into our, because it's a triphthong. It's our. It's 3 different movements of that vowel. And she literally said, she was like, did our, and like said it a little over enunciated, but then what happens, and this is as someone who, like, because I've had to learn dialects and accents myself for a role, sometimes you put so much weight on the words that's the trickiest that the next one gets like a little, if you watch it again, The Last Dance, she says new instead of new. She's like, did our new friend give him any trouble? And most of it was like kind of great, but it was just this tiny thing. Maybe this is just me. I think a bunch of those little things, that's something as simple as like a character's accent, right? I think a bunch of those little things just can start taking you out of it. If you get enough of those little things that are like, that doesn't quite fit with what is supposed to happen. Like what she wouldn't have wanted to go new as she said that. Because that's not how that character is pronouncing the oo vowel, right? So like I just think that some of those things that maybe the normie isn't thinking about, especially on the filmmaking side of things, but whether they realize it or not, if enough of those things have minor incongruencies, it adds up to a larger sense of just not fully connecting with the world.
I agree with you.
That's
It's
my
the
take
tube
on that.
thing that Quentin Tarantino talks about. If anything takes your tube off, you'll be screwed up. I need you now to watch Fargo season 5 because she does a Minnesotan accent.
No, my
Yes.
gosh, I'm going to write that down.
Yeah. Season 5, and it's an anthology, so you could just watch 5 and then start over, but only watch it chronologically. So you go 4, 2, 1, 3. I'm kidding. Don't actually do that. That is how I would watch it if I were to watch it again, and probably will. 4, 2, 1, 3. Yeah, 5. I have to wild pivot though back to
Let's do it.
King in Black. I was excited to see all the symbiotes because they have all the symbiotes team up to fight Knull. Yeah. So since we're now in spoiler section, we can talk about, and I'm going to start with David on this one because he doesn't know who the fuck Knull is, I assume.
Andy Serkis.
Yeah,
that's all I know.
Who directed the second one? Yeah,
yeah.
What did you think of how that character was used? Because I check in with my brother here. Do you know Knull from the comics very well, or you read about it?
I do.
Okay.
But in the home. Again, I
don't want to spoil anything. I want to see, because David. No, I assume you know nothing.
I just found out about Knull.
Yeah, it's spelled with a K. First impression, I love a good intro. I was like, whoa, because the beginning of the movie is like showing this history, right, with him, and I was like, dang, that's what this movie's gonna be about. That's gonna be sick. And then it doesn't get back there.
Not so much, man. We didn't see him again until the very end, and I don't know if there's going to be a fourth one. I have no idea.
No, but the idea is that they're gonna build up of Knull and
maybe
movies
the
around
Spider-Man
him.
universe.
It seemed very exciting. It seemed exciting. I was into it. I kept thinking the movie was going to go one way. It was like, oh, this is all going to be about Knull. Oh, never mind. This is all going to be about them going to New York. Oh, never mind. They're just in this van still. Like, that's what the movie turned into. And again, I did enjoy it. I had
you
a fun
like the
time.
van scene when they
I had a fun time watching it. I liked a lot of, but here, okay, hold on. I don't like when people cast actors in like a cinematic universe that have played other characters in that cinematic universe. Why would you do that? I always feel so bad. I know we had two of them. Wait, were there three?
Lizard.
Well, depending on,
because I know the general and I know the alien dad. Yeah.
Alien. Oh yeah, because he played Lizard in the Amazing Universe.
Like significant characters.
And also in the MCU, since he was in No Way Home.
He was in. Yeah, that's right. Who was the third one?
Andy Serkis played.
Sure.
In.
I'll let that one slide because he plays a VFX character, so you don't see the
live action.
Yeah, you don't see the actor
because he's
okay.
What is that character's name? That T'Challa has to like
Claw.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because he gets his arm cut off.
You're right. That is 3. That's so funny. I don't like that though. It's like just there's so many great actors out there.
Well, I mean, Eddie also prefaced "fuck the multiverse," so they kind of just threw that out the window, anyways.
Where are you at on Knull,
which
Tristan?
I enjoyed.
Like how do I feel about him, or
I assume you have a lot of comics knowledge, which I invite you to bring all of that in right here.
Yeah. So Knull is a pretty kick-ass character. He created the symbiotes. From, if I'm not mistaken, from like a dead Celestial, which is like a god in the Marvel Universe. He forged his, I think they just call it the Necro Sword, which we see in Thor Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
So I think they just kept it separate. Right? It's just kept set.
Well, they have it in there. Gore the God Butcher, who we never see kill any gods.
So with Knull,
that's
actually where the fear of fire and sound come from, because when he was forging the blade, it just created this an eternal fear of those things now. So that's kind of why every other symbiote has that fear. That's kind of the main gist I have of them. Later on, Carnage actually gets involved where he starts collecting everyone that's ever had a symbiote so he can interact with Knull. I unfortunately have not read the King in Black story arc. I didn't get there.
I have, yeah. Because I have previous podcast guest and live show comedian Chris Tedene. He is a big Spider-Man and Venom guy, but also he's like a post-college guy, where it's like he's a doctor. Like, we talked about this. He's a doctor of asphalt, so not like medical doctor. And now that he doesn't have to do the type of reading he had to do to get his doctorate, he just burns through comic books and asks, like, here, read this one. It's like, yeah, I wasn't reading it. And I'm the one that got him in the comics like 5 years ago. Like, hey, man, you can just borrow this.
You're like, hey, first one's free, dude.
Yeah, I'm his drug dealer.
You got him.
I drug dealed him.
Yeah.
So how much did this piss you off that Knull doesn't show up at the end of the movie? Because they transform at the beginning of the movie. Like, here's this thing that's going to be in the third act, and then is not in the third act. And
I had an inkling that he wasn't going to be the big bad of the movie, because I knew they wanted to do more with him. I figured they were going to try to integrate it into like the MCU somehow. But now that doesn't even make sense, because in Venom Let There Be Carnage, it was under the assumption that Venom got sent into the MCU. And then in Spider-Man No Way Home, we were under the assumption that he left the MCU, but we don't know where. And then in The Last Dance, it was just
came back.
He just came back through a different portal effect than No Way Home. It was a completely different portal effect.
Yeah, actually it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
You're under the assumption that Knull has something to do with it, which doesn't make sense because Knull sends these like symbiote hunters out through portals. And then Eddie got back to his universe.
No, he got... and I don't want to spoil No Way Home for people that haven't seen it, since we're talking about Venom.
People have seen...
Because it's a better movie.
No, I know what you're about to say, so can you
Yes.
go with that, and I'll...
Because of how they solve the problem where everyone's going to get sent back at the end of No
Dude,
Way
just
Home.
spoil it. Don't be...
No, it's fine.
Don't be a baby, dude.
I'm not going to avoid the thing I'm thinking.
Let's keep
It's
it
fine.
going.
Because that's why he gets sent back. It's not because of the events of the movie. Even though Eddie Brock was there, he gets sent back to where he was from.
So
because isn't that how they figured it? They
I'm going to correct you on that.
Oh,
Okay,
I can't
correct.
wait, because
So,
that made sense to me, but...
At the end of No Way Home, Eddie is at a bar and he gets sent back exactly the same way as other characters in No Way Home get sent back, right?
Yeah.
We're on the same page as that.
Back to his universe.
Yes. And back to a universe. We don't know where.
They specifically get sent back to their universe.
We don't know what's happening with Venom because he shouldn't have been sent to that universe to begin with. It doesn't make sense.
No, it was everyone who knew who Spider-Man was.
Yeah,
But
so Eddie
Spider-Man
Brock doesn't
doesn't
know who
exist in
Spider-Man
this-
is.
Yes, he
universe.
does, because we don't know... And we know that Eddie Brock has
So
interacted with
technically,
Peter Parker.
he knows Peter Parker then.
He knows Peter Parker.
Okay.
We
No,
still
they
don't
never
know
say Peter Parker.
We don't know who... You're right. We don't know who he knows as Spider-Man. For all we know, maybe Tom Hardy...
It was
He
about
doesn't know.
Peter Parker. It
So
was
Eddie
about
Brock
Peter Parker.
even says at some point in No Way Home, he's like, I should go find this Spider-Man character. As if he's never heard of the character Spider-Man.
No, but when at the end of Let There Be Carnage, he says, "Hey, that's him, but that's not him. That's a different one."
No,
or
he
something."
doesn't. He
Is
said-
that Venom who says it?
No, all Venom says is that guy.
Yeah.
That's all he says. So you have to draw conclusions from that, right?
Well, there's also the...
But also that newscasting that we see isn't correct either because it shows Spider-Man without his mask, which does not happen in No Way Home on that news report.
Oh, yeah, they added something that didn't happen at the end of the second European Vacation Spider-Man.
Let me go back to what I was saying.
Okay.
So in the newest Venom movie, The Last Dance, he is back at that bar that we've seen.
Yes.
They recreate the scene. He brings up Hulk, he brings up Thanos, but he never says Spider-Man. And then he gets sent back into a different portal. So in The Last Dance, he gets sent back into a portal, right? Yeah. In No Way Home, he gets teleported. Without a portal, his whole body just vanishes. Two completely separate effects.
I haven't seen No Way Home in a little while.
But in No Way Home, he says, I should go track down that spider guy. Last Dance, all he says is we should go to New York. But they never specifically say Spider-Man.
He says something about unfinished business with that guy or something in Last Dance.
He's going to blackmail someone, but not Spider-Man.
Oh, he's going to... Okay. Here's the other argument for why he got taken into...
That's good.
I think you've got...
That's good stuff, dude.
I think you've got a filmmaking inconsistency you've pointed out. That's not what I'm going to argue right now.
Okay.
I'm going to argue that the reason he got pulled in and pulled back was because the symbiote gives him knowledge of who Spider-Man is, and that's why he got pulled in No Way Home, and now I'm arguing No Way Home. And I still haven't said the thing from No Way Home that
Yeah, he does mention the hive mind of
the
multiverses,
Yep.
but
They
do drop it, though. They drop the whole thing in the start of The Last Dance.
They hint at... Yeah, you're completely correct. They do bring up a hive mind, and they're like, oh, there are eons of experience, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
So you are correct. In the second movie, they hint at that could be the case, but then they drop it, and Venom never says Spider-Man. So it's never like a thing that's brought up again in the third movie, as if they, for some reason, changed the story that they wanted to do.
Like they were going to get a cameo with Andrew Garfield. Any Spider-Man. Yeah, and then...
So what was the No Way Home thing you wanted to bring up?
Oh, no, I specifically don't want to...
He's like,
I don't want to say... There's somebody who listens to the podcast that I know hasn't seen No Way Home because...
He still hasn't seen it?
He still hasn't seen it, so he doesn't know the thing.
We were talking about Knull first. Okay, this was the MCU thing. It started happening where like you just wait in the theater to see what the after credit scene is, and they used to be so fucking juicy. You used to walk away like, oh my god, I know something that other people might not because they might not have been patient enough to stay. The one in The Last Dance, because we can do spoilers now, right?
Yeah, we're in spoilers for Last Dance.
Danny Rojas from Ted Lasso comes back out, comes back out, and he's like, what the fuck is going on here? And I thought it was going to be more about Knull. I was waiting, like, I can't wait to see, like, kind of like what they're going to set up with this next. And then it was what it was, do you guys remember what it was? Like, did you guys see it?
It was a cockroach walking up to a broken a broken vial, but you
Yeah.
never see anything in it.
I wrote this down because there were these hilarious guys behind me that I love. One of my favorite things about
This is a good fight. What are you talking about?
Leave him alone.
Oh, no, we can pause right now. This is a good fight. I cannot wait to point out the problems in this fight. Wait till they because when I was talking about intercutting, I liked a lot of the action here, and Woody Harrelson is great. Tom Hardy's great.
So maybe we're talking about two different things, because I like what they're doing, but you're not liking the filmmaking of it.
He doesn't like it when they start intercutting later in the fight when there's multiple things going on.
This is again just these two actors. When we cut back to Shriek up there,
Right here? Yep.
There's right here.
Shriek is got Mulligan, and she's hanging him with the
She's
chain.
got Mulligan. There's like 7 different times. No, see, that already happened. There were already like 7 different times that she should have just killed him.
Yeah.
And like it makes no sense
okay.
what
Yeah,
she's
okay.
doing. And then her character out of nowhere is like, that's too much at one point. Nothing about her makes us think that she would have any problem with him fucking up anybody. All of a
Right.
sudden, she's like, no, that's too much. Why? Just because we needed conflict in that moment. That's what aggravates me.
I think-
Yeah.
I think the reason, you're completely right. She's a psychopath, so killing all these people. But she is saying it at a time that the Carnage symbiote is this massive being, and I think she's worried about Cletus getting taken over.
Oh, sure. Because her world has been rocked. There are now aliens.
I don't know. I think you keep doing a lot of work on behalf of the filmmakers because to me,
I think he's literally about to say it.
to me, what seemed obvious
that's
is
too
that it
much.
was what he was about to do.
But he
This
wasn't doing
did-
anything. He just
Stop
walked up
him.
to her.
No. What was happening right there? No,
I love
I
his
think
face
it happened
coming
a
out.
little before. But what happened? Oh, by the way, how about what's going to come up here in a second is when he goes, "I'm going to kill her and make you watch," and then he leaves.
Yeah, he doesn't
That makes
stop
no
killing her. Yeah, he
sense.
stops.
I
Yeah.
get so frustrated when they like say this is what we're gonna do, and then it doesn't, and there's like no context to it whatsoever.
You're saying Cletus leaves.
Yes, he grabs Anne and then goes far away from Eddie where he couldn't possibly watch her die. He made this big point of being like, I'm gonna make you watch her die.
Well, that was for he was under duress. That what the hilarious guys say behind you at the end.
Okay,
of
sorry, the guy-
Let There Be Carnage that you
the
wrote
guy
down.
behind us, I love in like a
No,
big
The
community
Last
when you
Dance.
like
Last
the last
Dance,
dance, last dance, when there's like just when everyone like laughs at the same time. It's like such a special communal thing. I love it so much.
That's why going to theater is great.
Oh, and I want to ask you guys. Oh, hold on. I'll remember that after. Okay, Danny Rojas comes out. The cockroach thing happens, and then the guy behind me, I wrote it down right after because I thought it was so funny. He goes, "What the fuck was that? I sat here this whole time for a damn cockroach and some electric."
Yeah.
Then that was it. And then all of a sudden, as they were walking, he goes, "God damn it! That just means watch the next movie, bitch." Fine. And then he walked out.
Well,
it
I
was
think that-
like the funniest thing I'd ever heard in my life because we were all thinking the same thing of like, that's what we sat here this whole time for a damn cockroach and some
Deadpool's
electric.
done the same thing to us before.
No, 100%. I'm not saying it was just that movie, but I thought it was so funny because I expected Knull. I had really high expectations, and then that happened, and I was like, that's it? Are you kidding me?
Okay, what was the question you wanted to ask about theaters?
I want to know what you guys think about, okay, let's say you're in a movie theater. Let's say it's maybe like the premiere of a movie that you're very excited about.
Yeah.
Somebody's chatting when they're not supposed to be. Maybe somebody's on their phone. I want to know what's the strategy? Or no strategy.
I'll
What
tell
do
you
you guys
exactly what I've done. Tristan, you go first.
Literally happened today.
Really?
So
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting.
I went to go see We Live in Time with Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, romance movie. I was there by myself for a while, and then right before the movie started, like a couple showed up, and they're like maybe 2 rows behind me. We're like about, I don't know, 20 minutes into the movie, and a phone goes off, and it's so loud to the point that I thought it was part of the movie. I thought the movie went off. Like, they were having a conversation and then the phone went off. I'm like, oh, okay. But it just kept on going during their conversation. I'm like, what is happening? And then I heard it behind me. The guy picks it up and starts talking.
He didn't.
So for this instant, what I started doing is... when
You
there's a
snapped
call
at him?
group- Yeah, I started snapping.
Yeah.
Was it you and these 2 people? That's it in the movie.
There was 10 minutes into the movie, 2 more people showed up. So in a total, 5 people.
Yeah.
I know it's not them over there. It's people a few rows behind me. I just start snapping. I raise my hand.
Did that work?
A little bit. There's been other times where someone's
I thought
behind.
it was going to be, yes, it works.
Of course it
Well,
worked.
they eventually left.
They didn't stay for the whole movie?
No, they
my
left
gosh.
after like.
What if it was a medical emergency, Tristan?
Yeah, but you would have left to.
Yeah,
the call.
well, I want to know
they're talking during
what
the
happened.
movie.
You're sitting in that movie theater. What do you do?
Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm there with my niece before I go out with my band later in the evening while my niece is staying with me and I bring her home before. So I have two young hoodlums in the back of they were white, just so we're clear.
Oh my gosh, you're so dude.
I just want to make clear that these two young boys
everyone's
were in
worried
the back
that something
of
we're
the
good.
theater making
Hoodlums
noise.
could be anybody, yeah.
They could be anybody, but these two young white Edina boys were, because I was at Southdale, every day I need attention. They're making noise and the movie has started. So I come up to the seat next to them, put my hand down on it in like a slap motion and go, they told you to stop talking. And these kids like jumped out of their seats. Because they were young boys.
Yeah.
And an adult is
put 'em
using
in
his
their
gravelly
place.
voice
Yeah.
at us.
Yeah.
And I was like, did you say it was like
I
the principal?
100% co-sign that.
Oh, great.
Kirk, do you have a strategy?
Yeah, I just usually stare them down and then just start coughing a little bit, like.
Yeah. Okay, you give a little passive,
Yeah.
little passive.
No Minnesotan about it. What do you do?
For all of time, because I like the movie going experience has always been like so special to me. And when people are like choosing to be disrespectful to everyone else there, somebody's got to do it, okay?
And you're the
I
hero.
nominate myself the vigilante.
You hate bullying.
Who will do it? I can't take it. But I ran into a situation recently where I was bottled up by Teresa, who, if she said she's gonna listen to this, which I love you so much, but you didn't let me be me. There was a guy. It was Deadpool and Wolverine, and it was actually like kind of a pivotal scene in the movie. And this guy directly in front of me was on his phone at a brightness that I didn't even know existed on a phone. It was insane. It was like he was almost sending like Commissioner Gordon, like summoning Batman, and. It was the phone was so bright, and he was like just talking to the people next to him, kind of loud, and just like literally like someone who holds it up and is like scrolling, and then goes to video, starts filming the movie, just out like this, filming the movie, and then I see he's sending it to someone and like talking to the person next to him, and this is I loved that movie, and I was having such a fun time with it. I immediately just go to start saying something, but Teresa, she gets like a little. Socially, and she doesn't know what's going to happen or
She's
whatever.
from Minnesota. You're from the East Coast.
100%. So to her, she's like, this is impossible for you to say something. I'm like, I need this for justice. No one is saying anything. I've waited long enough. Clearly no one's going to do it. It's got to be me. So I'm about to do it. And she literally was like, I'm asking you, please, for me, don't say anything. And then I realized, like, I'm going to have to eat this because she's more important to me. You know what I mean? Like the whole point was that we were having this great time together. Am I going to throw that away?
What scene was it?
Just, it was kind of towards the climax. It wasn't fully when they were like together yet.
With Madonna's song going?
It was like the scene right before that. It was like not some throwaway scene. You know what I mean? It was important enough. And I sat there and I was seething for like 10 minutes because I had to like shut down that thing. I've always been that guy who would just be like, we all see you right there. No one wants you talking right now. Stop talking. Like I would just say that to people all the time. It was something that like always irritated me. Me and my friends when we were younger, like maybe if it was someone that we were like worried about like just getting our asses kicked or something when we were like 13, 14 going to see a movie, we're at the very least throwing candy at them and like beaning them until they get the hint of like
I've
stop
thrown
talking.
popcorn at people.
Yeah, 100%.
You ever assaulted somebody? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
guys.
The new James Bond movie that came out a few years ago.
No,
No
the
Time to
last
Die?
one.
No time to die.
It was like a midnight screening. And it was only like me and a whole row of like teenagers behind me.
Yeah.
And like they're talking through the trailers. I'm like, whatever trailers. They start talking through like the title sequence that James Bond. I'm like, okay. Maybe just
Wait, the title sequence when the music's playing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still letting that go. But then like the movie's actually happening. I threw a little bit of popcorn.
Yeah, let's
They
go.
still
Did it work?
No, they still continue talking. So it got to the point where I stand up. I'm like, hey, I know we're all having a good time, but I need you guys to shut up. Like, watch the movie if you want to.
Yeah,
but like,
dang.
I don't. Do any of you even care about James Bond, or any of you care to like watch this movie, or are you just kind of like here?
Like,
I
why
don't
are
care
you
about
here?
James Bond. I just wanted to go see the movie.
Yeah.
Dude, there was one, like, because again, I always have been that person. When it's a lady, it's obviously a little different because I'm like, I don't want to seem like, aggressive
tossing
towards
bucket
somebody.
popcorn at 'em.
Yeah, exactly. But what me and my cousin or me and my brother or me and my friends would do, because people were having like a full-on conversation in the row right behind us, and we just started super loudly repeating every single word that they said. Like literally like we were playing the same scene out, and then eventually it's like they got the message. If we keep talking, these idiots in front of us are just gonna like announce the whole conversation we're having to this auditorium. And it was like, worked again. But it really was frustrating. I started going like this. I was like, "Heh."
You're going to pull your shirt off?
No, to be like the superhero. I was about to do it, and then
You
Teresa
got it.
said don't, and I went, nah, I'm just a normal guy.
310 to Yuma. Christian Bale. Yeah, I'm in the theater back in Houghton, Michigan, and these individuals are talking, and I'm the guy you want to be, apparently. And this guy gets upset. He's like, well, how dare you? And then a much older like guy. Then he goes, quiet down, from like 2 rows behind me, and that put something in a minute.
yeah.
But then after, when the credits are rolling, the guy's like, I'm going to see you outside. And then we go outside, and he's like, man, with one call, I could take this whole town down. It's like, this guy's insane.
That's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, we like the
this
fight.
whole town.
The fight went into the street, and we're next to a cop station. I go like, you realize there's a cop station right there, and you are, saying you're going to take down an entire town. I mean, go ahead, call whoever you want on your cell phone, but just don't do it in the movie, jerk.
Yeah. Do it out here. Don't do it in there.
Okay, we've definitely hit a zenith at this point, and we watched both movies like monsters. We've hit closing thoughts. Guess, David, why don't you go first? Tristan, you I want you to compose something beautiful. David, you can do whatever you want.
I'll stall for you. I'll stall.
Yeah,
Okay.
stall for
Closing
Tristan.
thoughts on Venom or on this wonderful time that we've spent.
let's go
Specifically on Venom
Venom.
and Venom: The Last Dance, if you want to focus there.
Okay.
But I don't care.
I'll
You
say
whatever you want.
Venom: The Last Dance. I think it's really fun. I really do. Like I had a really fun time watching it, and even though, of course, like I care about a lot of these things that maybe are like illogical or characters behaving illogically, whatever, it still is fun. Like I am able to put those things aside, and I really was in this movie, and I felt like there was heart in it. They found some moments of that. I think there could have been more. I think there's a lot of potential, maybe unrealized potential throughout these 3 movies. It's worth seeing if you just want to have some fun and be on the prowl for people talking so that you can become who you were meant to be.
Lethal Protector.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Tristan, what's your lethal protection?
The trilogy definitely tries to do something, but I'm coming from it from 3 minds, like we talked about. Comic book mind, throw that out the window. It literally does not matter.
Shouldn't have even been made.
You're going to be mad that they even say Marvel Comics.
Only use it to help you.
Yeah. Don't use it to disappoint yourself, which
Yes.
the movie, all 3 of them do to a certain extent.
Any comic book movie is going to do that.
That's a different podcast episode. Story-wise, it's just inconsistent. They can be fun. I enjoy the camaraderie that they try to do, but then the storytelling isn't consistent between all 3 movies. Like, they're not aware that a movie happened before this one, and it just seems silly because I don't know. There's just been other movies that have done this significantly better. The concept of a guy that has to do fight scenes while having something inside his head. Go watch Upgrade.
Sure.
That's a fantastic movie. Same concept, and they just spoil their own IP with Venom. Filmmaker standpoint, it just doesn't make sense. The movie doesn't make sense. None of them do. But you can sit down and eat popcorn and hope that there will be a scene that's better later on. And in all 3 movies, there usually is. You might not be watching it at the moment, but eventually there is a good scene. And be like, yeah, I saw Venom.
Yeah, I saw Venom.
Great. That was great.
Kirk, you want to take us out, baby?
What's our next debate? We got to tease it.
I've got questions out to folks. I haven't checked my phone to see if anyone's gotten back to me. Oh, let's put the onus on Tristan to influence the person I told him about. But in case that one doesn't work out, all I've done is say, hey, Tristan knows someone that I've asked.
So it's a surprise for next week then.
It'll be a surprise. Don't worry.
I'll definitely try to
Thank you.
talk to them. They'll be like, did you talk about yourself?
Sure.
A little bit. I talked about myself a little bit.
It's a debate. Yeah. It's a debate podcast. It's not a review podcast. It's got Upper Midwest filmmakers. I was supposed to say that at the start. I didn't.
Hell yeah.